Okay, guys, sorry about that. I think we're back on. Let me know now if the audio comes in, and I apologize for that, guys. Um, it's one of those things when you get a new piece of hardware and you're trying to upgrade your channel and improve the content. I guess it just happens, to the best of us. So, thank you guys so much for your patience. We'll wait a couple more minutes. Let's see if we can get our viewers back, and then maybe we'll get started with redo part 3. I think, the third one's a charm. So, all right. Hey, what's going on, Kevin? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to catch this too, and I'm so sorry, guys, about the audio issues. I literally just got this new mic, and I've just been trying to, like I said, upgrade this channel, improve it, and it's just a learning experience. So, thank you, guys. All right, let's get started. Let's do this part 3. Okay, so I want to thank you guys for joining. Today's topic, as you guys know, is Dent Wireless, the updated roadmap for 2018. We also have a guest on today's show. So, Indiana, why don't you introduce yourself and, yeah, maybe explain what your interest is in Dent before we give them an overview on the project.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Indiana. I found my as a best investment based on I went to a white paper and it was very impressive. And this is my first crypto investment as well.
Awesome.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. So cool. So for those that don't know what Dent Wireless is trying to do, they're actually a project. It's a cryptocurrency project. It's an ERC20 based, I guess you'd call it, platform on Ethereum that is essentially creating this mobile data marketplace. So what they're trying to do, in a sense, is allow users all across the world the ability to buy and sell data, and the data actually could be derived from different telecom providers. So today, you guys know you have your mobile data phone, and usually you have a data plan that is tied to one carrier. In the future, potentially, you could select from a suite of telecom data offerings in your area and dynamically maybe pick the data plan that best suits your type of application you're looking at, or maybe your window and when you're maybe using that mobile data. There's also some applications in IoT or Internet of Things. So if you're a developer in that area, potentially Dent could develop an API to tie into those devices. And finally, the third most important thing about this project, which is of interest, which we can explain a little bit better, is what we call data remittances, or even tying this into payment remittances. So using Dent Wireless's tokens as a way to buy other services, because the tokens themselves carry value. And if you guys have watched some of the other videos I've done in the past, you know that we've done some research in emerging markets, and we've seen in some of those areas, such as in Africa, many of these countries have already what's called leapfrog the whole aspects of how they treat payments using something similar to what Dent is doing. So it's not too much of a leap to see that a Dent could have a lot of far-reaching applications, both in terms of mobile data, but in other, I guess, ways as well. Okay, so what you guys see here today, and feel free, Indiana, to chime in as you see fit. What you guys are seeing here today is the Dent Wireless website. So if you guys have any questions, I'd recommend you guys go to www.dentwireless.com, and they have a number of different links for you to visit. There's an About Us page which talks a lot about the founders. They also talk about the mobile app, so there's a section that talks about there. There's a frequently asked questions. There's a news, and then there is the roadmap, which is what I think the discussion is going to focus on today, and just to get everybody up to speed on what the team is trying to do. You have anything to add to that, Indiana?
No, it's pretty good. We got the agenda started. Yep.
I already talked about the Dent founders and the management team, so we're not going to dive into that in this video. But for those that are interested in that, I recommend you go to my channel and you can actually view a video that goes into much more depth about the project and the team. So I talk about three things here for the trends, mega trends on mobile data business that Dent is addressing. So 1 through 3 here, the liberation of mobile data, the disruption of international roaming, which is not something I mentioned, but it is an application that Dent is going to be tackling, and also the automated mobile data purchase for the best price, which is the one I'm most excited about. So one of the interesting news stories here that Dent had released, I think it was just, Indiana, what was that, a couple days ago maybe? Or maybe as of yesterday? I'm not exactly sure what date this was released.
I think it was Thursday, a couple of days ago. Yeah, they mentioned that iOS app is about to be released.
Right. So the iOS app is about to be released, and also Dent is getting listed on CoinRail, which is nice to see, because in the past, Dent, I think, had only been available in 2 marketplaces, if I'm not mistaken. So one was the Ether Delta, the infamous Ether Delta, I guess, for some. For others, people like it because it's decentralized. And then there was also the HIT BTC, I believe. So those were the 2 areas where the coin was available. So by getting a little bit more exchanges out where Dent can be bought and sold, it's going to increase the liquidity for the Dent holders, which is always nice. Not that I have anything against Ether Delta, but So, but the real story here, I think, with why we're doing this YouTube video today is really to talk about this roadmap. So what you guys hopefully see on your screen is what had just been released, I believe, as of this past week, if I'm not mistaken. And this takes us through the end of 2018. So on the left side, guys, you can see, or right in the middle, guys, you could see the main major milestones by quarter, and those are in green. And on the top, you can see some of the key deliverables, as well as on the bottom. Right here, starting from the left, we can see the most anticipated release that will be forthcoming, I believe, probably in the next week or 2, is my suspicion. Now, I don't have any of that info. It's just, I guess, my best hypothesis. Given we have like the holidays coming up, I would sort of doubt it would be during that week. So it's either going to be, I would suspect, maybe this next week or the following week, or maybe the week after. But you could see what the team's going to do is release the Dent iOS application 1.0. And what this application enables you to do is send data to yourself. So you can purchase Dent with PayPal, and you can interact with the Dent to obtain data, mobile data, through AT&T and Verizon, through the various deals that Dent has secured with their key partners in the USA. And then in Mexico, they have some deals with Movistar and Telcel. And again, similarly, you would be able to purchase Dent via PayPal and then actually obtain the data. You could also use this as some type of data remittance for your loved ones in Mexico, for example. So you could purchase data on your app and then send the Dent tokens to your relatives in another country, for example, or even here. And they would have the ability then to obtain the mobile data needed for communications, which is, I think, a very useful tool. It's a very useful utility. And the last portion of it is the users earning data by watching ads, as well as this interesting feature of the launch of the Dent Exchange, which I haven't heard a lot about. A lot of people discussing this, but it is very interesting concept that they're creating this ecosystem for the various players, such as the telecom folks, the consumers, or what I like to call prosumers, the Dent trader, the data traders, the people who are interested in maybe bidding on data packages or those IDOs. So, what do you think about that, Indiana? This first release, are you as excited as the rest of the community here? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yep. Yeah, the Dent app is going to be pretty much very useful for most of the prepaid users. Data on the fly, you can call them as pay-as-you-go users. So in Mexico, the statistics is most of the people, 86% of the mobile users are on prepaid connections. So once Dent goes into release in Mexico, I guess most of the people are going to find really useful because they can buy the data on the fly rather than using a scratch card or something to top up mobile data. So now from the app on their phone, they can just purchase data on the fly.
Right.
Even set up auto top up. Yep.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and I heard about that next feature with the airtime top ups. I believe that is also forthcoming somewhere between that time frame. So between, I think it would be Q1 and Q2 of next year. So very, very interesting stuff. We have a couple questions on the chat. So Kevin Hicks, welcome. Thank you for joining. He actually asked a couple good questions here. His first question is, will people be able to write bots or scripts to abuse watching ads for free Dent and drop that Dent on the market to affect price? Well, I think a couple things. You can, I guess, it would require a number of, probably a sophisticated system to do that. Not to say it probably couldn't be done, but it's likely that even the rewards and the effort that it would take to do that would be limited in terms of its return. But I'd also suspect that the team probably has a couple things up their sleeve to guard against that. I mean, you have that. We see that a lot in logging in, right, to websites. So to stop massive spam attacks, a lot of websites deploy some type of a CAPTCHA system where a human actually has to input what it is they're seeing. And that's a very simple way to guard against that. Now, I can't speak for the Dent team because I'm not a part of that, but I just basic common IT security methods could be deployed to prevent that type of attack. I don't know, Indiana, if you have any thoughts or comments on that?
Yeah, I guess the team is actively working on testing and making the app as secure as possible because it's...
Hello? And we may have lost...
yes, so that's...
Oh.
Can you hear me?
I think you dropped off there for a second.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, that might be a technical glitch. Yep. So basically, yep. Yeah, I found security must be taken care because that's very key when you have an app with millions of users. I think the Dent team is working very actively to get the security aspects covered. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would think there's security methods that can be deployed to guard against that. I don't think it's hard for the team to implement it, and I would presume they have that. Now, understand, guys, we're just kind of like you guys. I mean, I'm not part of that team, so I just cover it from the outside. But, you know, they seem like a very solid team. They've built enterprise-level software solutions, especially in, like, email. I know some of the team has experience in trading platforms, so I wouldn't doubt that they probably accounted for that already in their business model. Yeah, it's a solid team.
Yeah, I would think so. Yep.
Yeah. So the next one then is so after the release of the iOS, which would be your Apple phones, you're going to then see in Q2 the release of the Dent Android app 1.0. So in this way, they're saying buy Dent with Ethereum and Bitcoin, as well as add credit card payments, the mobile CRM functionality, and the feature of parity of iOS and Android. So this is a very key, important milestone in my book for this project, in a sense that, and let me just provide some perspective for everybody. Okay, we have here right now on Ethereum, how many projects, guys? We probably have about 1,000 projects, and out of the 1,000 projects, how many of them are actually launching an actual an app this year or in the next couple months that will easily have 1 million users? How many of them can you count on your finger are doing that? Just answer it, because a lot of the projects right now are it's all just fluff, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's not much ICOs which are going live in 6 months' time after the ICO, actually. Dent is one of them, making it before Q4.
Yeah, I mean, and Kevin has a good point here. He says CryptoKitties. I mean, CryptoKitties would be the one exception. And my boy Dan Larimer with Steemit and BitShares, those two are actually deployed and scaling to, probably, like, I know Steemit has huge amount of users and volume, but beyond that, I mean, I don't see a whole lot of projects besides the Ethereum platform itself for ICOs and trading. You don't have a lot of examples. So again, Dent, in my opinion, is going to be one of the pioneers to demonstrate the use of blockchain technologies from a practical application perspective and actually solving a real problem. That's why I like Dent so much. That's one of the reasons why. It's because they're actually doing things. So
yeah. And we have had a lot of questions, people asking why they focused on getting the iOS first. So it's because in US and Mexico, 44% of the users are on iPhone. So it's pretty makes sense to have an iPhone release first, yeah.
Yes, whereas the global marketplace is mainly Android. So they are,
yeah,
I guess, cultivating the different regions and probably also using this launch initially for the iOS as I don't want to call it a sandbox or beta, but there's definitely probably going to be some lessons learned and improvement for the larger release, which would be Android, I would anticipate. So that actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Any other questions, guys? Kevin asked, is this data purchasable on family plans? I think the Dent is looking at a number of different options for how they can leverage offering mobile data. So I'd probably let the Dent team answer that. I don't want to speculate or make stuff up. So.
And another interesting thing about the app is most of the prepaid users are going to find this app as a big boon. The reason is right now in Mexico, 86% of the users are on prepaid cards, so they will find this app really useful as well.
Right. So instead of having to go to an actual store to buy your cards, you can do this online. You can do it through the app directly.
Yeah, and then they can do auto top up as well by picking up selective plans, and they can get notifications when they run out of data as well. There's a lot of killing features coming in on Q1, I guess.
Yes. So that's the top-up feature that comes between Q1 and Q2, it looks like, and that's extending the Dent offering with airtime top-ups covering mobile operators worldwide. I'm particularly interested in this third bullet point, if you guys can see my pointer here. It's allow the global remittance of Dent from user to user. So in that sense, Dent becomes a currency for mobile to mobile, and that's where I think you're going to get some interesting applications beyond mobile data. And the reason why I say that is because if you guys remember in my previous video and just research, and you can do this yourself, as I mentioned, a lot of countries, especially in the emerging markets, are already using something like this unofficially. So there's no exchange right now to make those transactions. People do it arbitrarily, maybe on a single network. But if Dent is able to tie all this together, it naturally becomes an integral piece of the rails for that type of system. And if you figure what would the global GDP or market of Kenya or some other countries that practice or use this method of payments, and you assume a percentage of that tied into Dent, right, using the Dent rails to facilitate that exchange, there's a lot to be said about the value of Dent, at least perceived from those people who use the technology.
And remember, the app is going to be very useful for the developing countries as well, because they have partnership in Africa and India as well, where the mobile user base, smartphone users are pretty huge in numbers, around 400 million users actually.
Right. Yeah. It is, and I believe I put out a target, at least that I was thinking would be realistic, which I think it was around 1 million by next year, by like middle of next year. And it looks like the Dent team sort of has that targeted as well. Maybe it's a conservative target. I'm not sure, but I deemed it as somewhat conservative when I looked at the numbers and just how many subscribers that are part of the telecom base they're going after. I think it was somewhere around, and don't quote me guys, I think it was around 300 million or maybe a little less. But if you assume, 10% or even less than that, 2%, now you're talking about millions of users, even on that small scale, and it grows from there with the right incentives. So,
and another key thing is the idea of incentivizing the users for promoting videos, advertisements. Is really a killer feature, because at the moment, if I watch a video on YouTube or on a Facebook, I don't get paid as a user. Basically, I'm not in. But right now, with the Dent, you watch a video, free ad, and you get a free data package straight away.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because we've seen a lot of crypto projects such as the BAT token, the BAT token, yes, the basic attention token, right, is one of them. We have ADX, and potentially now, we have Dent in that mix. So Dent plays a number of different roles. It's much more, I guess, multi-pronged in that sense, that it just does so many different things. One of the things it does is what my friend just described here, is providing a way to link the advertisers to the viewers, but not punish the viewers for absorbing or viewing that content, right? Today, when you have your mobile phone, a large percentage of your data plan actually goes to the advertisements, whether you know it or not. So that's a big problem, right? Think about all the content you view. Think about all the YouTube. Maybe you're like me and you at work, you like to listen to music, or you like to, just play something that is interesting while you work away. And for each of those, you'll notice that every couple minutes, YouTube has an ad in there. Well, believe it or not, you're paying for that right now, which, in a sense, it's an advertisement. So why should you have to pay for it? It just doesn't really make sense. So
yeah, exactly.
This is a way that advertisers and viewers can, I guess, come to some equilibrium. In exchange for time, you get access to you have ability to gain mobile data. So it actually makes a lot of sense, because time is money.
Yeah. And it has a huge potential to become a mobile advertising platform as well, as an app. So the app has the potential to be used as a targeted, because once you have the details of the users and the geographic location, you can produce targeted advertisements, and do promotions at a fine-grained manner.
Right. So then, and again, it's just more data operators coming online, and this is before Q2 2018. It looks like they're bringing on Airtel India, launched the Vivo, Claro Brazil, and the Korean operators, and as well as the first MVNO partners. So maybe we should talk about that a little bit. I mean, this is pretty big because we're going from USA and Mexico to now expanding to India, which is one of the most populous places in the whole world.
Yeah, and there are around 225 smartphone users actually. The numbers are huge.
Is that million or?
Yeah, it's millions. 225
okay. Yeah, I
million
know if you said the millions.
smartphone users.
Yeah. So and then Korean operators, that's going to be huge, and then this MVNO partners, that is going to be very big as well. So those are, I believe, those could be, your mobile virtual network operators, right? So this could be specialized, I guess, systems that are put together for specific applications, or it could be like I think you have some of these outfits today that function even in the US that provide mobile data plans from an MVNO perspective, but this allows them to maybe have a more competitive place, I would suspect, to gain access to data for their customers. That would just be my take on this. But there's other specialized applications as well. I gave some examples of that in my previous video as to how some companies are using that type of system to basically bring connectivity to their devices, whether it's a car, it could be an embedded system somewhere, right? And all those devices need some type of mobile data functioning. So that could be it could be used for that purpose as well. Again, guys, multi-pronged project here. It's not just one thing they're doing. They're actually doing a whole lot when you start to study and read the white paper. Okay, so with that said, now we're going to get into really my favorite part of this whole roadmap launch, and the one that's most exciting to me. It's the Dent Exchange Web App. So we've at that point they've launched the mobile applications for the consumers. They have the remittances in place. They have most of the deals in terms of the telcos, but now there's this Exchange Web App. And so what that allows some users to do is the trading of Dent against data packages, the extension of data reward capabilities, and as Indiana mentioned, there's going to be some more interesting advertising formats and partnerships. And then the one that's maybe even more just out there and very innovative from my perspective is the Dent Exchange Trading Desk. So that's it sounds like it's more of an interactive exchange for the data providers to introduce their plans into the market. Is that how you understand it, Indiana?
Yeah, I think the Dent Exchange app, which is probably scheduled for Q3 or around that time, it started more towards providing to be able to launch their own pre-packaged mobile data packages straight on the desk.
Right. So we have a couple questions. Kevin actually brings up a couple good questions here. So he asks if so what about those who may be used to unlimited data plans? Will there be an ability to buy unlimited data packages from Dent? I think technically, in my experience, guys, and I'm not talking here for Dent, this is just my experience with quote-unquote unlimited data plans. Most of them have some type of bandwidth limit. So even though technically they are considered unlimited, if you exceed a specific cap in terms of how much data you consume, usually those telecom providers will actually reduce the amount, your speeds, throughout the rest of your your payment period. Is that how it works in your parts of the world, Indiana? Oh, maybe we lost Indiana. I'm not sure, but I know here in the U.S. it is like that, and I have Virgin Mobile as one example. I know is like that because I've used it for years. So even though technically it is um, unlimited, it's not really unlimited if you want to watch a video, because if you hit that data cap, what happens is the ability for you to watch that video, especially in a high quality format, you're not able to do it anymore. So you'd probably have to either pay Virgin Mobile or whoever you're with to extend the data plan, which some people do, or like me, what ends up happening is I get a reduced quality in terms of the video. So it's not exactly unlimited. I just want to make that clear, which is why Dent still has a place or a position in this whole market space. Even if people extend to unlimited plans, it's still going to be used. Hopefully that answers your question, Kevin. So going on to the next question then, and please, if that doesn't answer it, just let me know, and what I plan to do anyway at the end of this talk or discussion is write some of these down and follow up with the founders and developers of Dent and see if they have anything they'd like to add to this. So your next question, or the next question on the chat was, say for instance the government began to tax cryptocurrency like regular currency. Will people who buy Dent be subject to paying for the taxes even though they use it for data only? Well, first and foremost, guys, I would say that answering that question would be very difficult for a couple reasons. One is Dent is global. Okay, guys, it's not just it's not just in the United States, or it's not just in Asia. It's a global mobile data platform for all telcos and users to come together to buy and sell mobile data. So from that perspective, I mean, that's the utility that Dent is offering. That's the feature Dent is offering. That's the value Dent is offering. How governments, intend to treat these types of services, I think it would be very difficult to answer at this time, and also it may be dependent on the area that you're in. So I think that's the honest answer, guys. But as soon as we hear more from the authorities or the regulators on things, and maybe some follow-up with the Dent team as to what their perspective is on things, we just have to continue to monitor things and obey all the laws and in your jurisdiction, of course. So Indiana, I don't know if you're there still or if you just dropped off.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yep, okay. I'm hearing. Yes, so with regards to the regulations, it's pretty unknown territory to speculate.
Yes, that's what I was saying. It's really dependent on the jurisdiction that even the person will live in, because one jurisdiction may view this with no issues, and another one may have issues. But that's the same with any cryptocurrency. That's not really specific to Dent. So we're just going to have to see how this all plays out. Okay, so with that said, guys, we're going to, I think, try to finish up here. We have the last section, which is the launch of Dent Mobile Apps 2.0. So we had the 1.0, and I didn't even see before we have the 2.0, and this is sometime in the late 2018, it looks like. And they're also it looks like they're going to add a 2019 roadmap. So it sounds like there's more to come in the kitchen. Is that the sense you get, Indiana?
Yeah, it looks like they have quite a lot of big plans ahead for both 2018 and beyond 2018 as well, because they need to get more user base and provide more rich features to the app as well as they go along.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The launch, though, of the Dent Mobile Apps 2.0, it looks like it would have both versions launched and also selling. So that's something we didn't cover here. But now, not only just buying, but you can sell your data packages, it sounds like, into the marketplace. And
Yeah, and
also,
particularly
yes, go ahead.
when you travel, like say cross-border travels, like when you're going on holiday or somewhere and you want to locally use the data, you could probably exchange your data and get someone locally there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's that piece, and there's the advanced usage statistics, which I'm a little bit curious about, and I have my own thoughts on some of the more innovative data offerings that Dent could do with telcos. And so that's really my interest in this project, guys. Kevin has a neat idea here. He says, how about a chat app that also allows sending of Dent peer to peer in the app? That would be awesome. I agree with you. I think pairing this with a chat system would be very useful. Something that's secure, obviously, but it's a natural fit, you know. And we see that in a lot of these emerging countries that they're doing things like this. So we'll just have to see.
Another thing to add is the Dent app has its own Dent wallet as well. So once they go live, I bet that will be the biggest, largest used cryptocurrency wallet in the globe as well, in terms of user base, because having quite a lot of millions of users and real use case for cryptocurrencies basically.
No, right. No, that's correct. And I think that a lot of the details right now, even from what we see for the roadmap of 2018, maybe are not well received from the crypto community, in a sense that people don't seem to have understood that Dent is targeting millions of users by next year, not a handful of crypto nerds, okay, that are on this channel. They're actually targeting real users, and they have a real use case. So when you
and the interesting thing is the users are not going to actually perceive that they are actually using a crypto wallet behind the scene, under the hood, and they are just anyway paying by PayPal.
Yes.
Under the hood, it's a huge crypto wallet sitting there and facilitating cross-border remittance as well.
Right, and that's an important part. I mean, it's something I even mentioned in the show yesterday with Singular, is that any successful project, I think, is not going to force their users to know that they're actually using tokens, because most general people are not into cryptos. That's just the truth. You know, people don't want to worry about Ether and worrying about if they have enough Ether to push to the network to make a transaction. I'm sorry, guys, but I know we're all crypto nerds. Most of us are on here. But, you know, the general population doesn't care about that. They want the apps to work. They want the systems to work. Just like the way you go in your car and you turn the keys in your ignition and the car starts. You know, you don't worry. You don't want to know about the design of the car and whether there's enough, you know, oils in specific areas for it to run. You know, maybe you worry about the gas in your car, but that's at a much higher level. You're not looking at the detailed level. And I think most users out there around the world are similar. You know, they don't want to think about all those things. So Dent has a very good approach in having that under the hood, as opposed to having something that is maybe a little bit overwhelming for most users, in my opinion, which would be the dealing with the exchanges and sending transactions. So you really have to applaud Dent for having that forward-thinking perspective in executing their business model.
Yeah, I'm pretty much looking forward for the first release.
Yeah. So with that said, maybe we can just have some closing remarks and take any questions there are, and then just wrap it up. And hopefully, guys, what I'm hoping to do is actually have a release party for Dent mobile app for iOS. So I don't actually have I don't have a Apple iOS. I do have I have an Android, so I'm definitely looking for that. And as soon as that comes out, you know, I'll be installing it. And I was hoping to even get an emulator on my MacBook Air, because that's what I'm running right now. But I couldn't find any. So because my plan was to actually show the mobile app on a video and walk people through how to set stuff up. That would be really cool. but I'm having trouble finding like an emulator for this. So anybody out there, if you're aware of a system that allows you to do that, that basically allows you to simulate like a phone. It's like, I think on Android they have something called BlueStacks, so it'd be something similar. Then I would be happy to do a video on the mobile app itself and show how Dent works and maybe even throw some Dent in there. I'm not exactly sure how that would turn out, but it's worth experimenting with.
Cool. It was very nice. Yep. Thanks. Yep.
Well, yeah, my pleasure. And we have one other question here. Now Hard says, can you also download the app on an iPad or just the iPhone? I think most of the time, if your device has the functionality of an iPhone, it would likely work on that system. But I know for like MacBook Airs, obviously it's not a phone, so it's not gonna work, and it doesn't even allow us to. Mac doesn't allow you to use iOS apps that are built for a phone on your MacBooks. So I don't know if that helps you, but
yeah, probably the app will recognize the SIM as well. Can read the data on the SIM.
Yes.
Once the SIM is there on the iPad, it will assume that it's a mobile SIM on it, so it will have to be installed probably.
Right. Yeah. So we'll just have to see, but more to follow, guys. This is still early. The application hasn't even launched, but the team has done more work than most. So kudos to them. Kudos to Indiana for jumping on today's talk, and hopefully we can do it again. And if we have other people who are interested in co-hosting any of these shows or contributing in any way or have any thoughts, please let me know. PM me, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, help support it and grow this network. And yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, ciao.
Bye. Cool.